Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Tell Your Story. I'm Todd Nesloney, former elementary principal and now a director of culture and strategic leadership for my state elementary principal organization, TEPSA. And I am thrilled each week to bring you different guests and people that have inspired, challenged, or encouraged me in one way or another and give them a platform to tell a piece of their story. I am thrilled this week to have my special guest, Allyson Apsey, on with me. Allyson, tell everybody a little about who you are.
Hi, thank you, first of all, so much for having me. So I'm an elementary principal in Michigan, hence like the jacket on right now. And I just finished up my 16th year as a principal. And I've been a elementary principal, a junior high principal, a high school principal, and now just elementary. So it's been an incredible journey. And I've also had the honor to publish a few books with Dave and Shelley Burgess. So I happen to have them with me here. So there we go. The Path to Serendipity was my first book that came out about a year ago. And then this is my picture book, which you endorsed, Todd. Thank you so much for that. The Princes of Serendip. And then this book came out on May 3rd through the lens of serendipity. So, and I actually am in the process of editing middle grades realistic fiction chapter book, which I know that you've published all different genres too. So that's like a whole different journey and different experience.
Oh my gosh, that's so exciting. I had no idea.
So that book is called The Serendipity Journal. I think it's like going to end the Serendipity Chronicles. Who knows? But I'm thinking like it's complete because there's a book for every age level now once that book is published. But that was like my initial dream. I was a junior high teacher and I was teaching a character education class. And of course, you're teaching junior high character education, you could never call the class character education.
Right.
You have to disguise it as something. So I had just seen the movie Serendipity with John Cusack and Kate Beckinsale. And so I called the class Serendipity, and we kind of based it on the idea of looking for happy accidents. And I dreamed way back in whatever it was, 2001, about writing a realistic fiction book that walked students through those character lessons in a really compelling story format. So I'm really hoping that the Serendipity Journal is exactly that.
That is so cool that this idea and this phrasing and this imagery you had back many years ago is now coming to fruition. I mean, that's gotta feel like so exciting for you to see all that.
Yeah, yes, it is. There's been many serendipitous moments and lessons all along the way, but it was funny because I started a blog in 2015, and before that, I'd done a lot of writing, but never produced my writing publicly at all. And I was sitting next to my secretary at school, and I'm like, I'm starting this blog. Like, I don't want to just call it like Allyson Apsey. I was going to call it Serendipity something. And my secretary's like, that's a little weird. Like, I'm not really sure that you should do that. And then like look at what it's become. So really blessed to have that platform, and that many educational leaders get to have a platform to share their story. So it's been awesome, the connections that have been made. But my heart and soul is at Quincy Elementary in Michigan. I just, there's so many blessings in my life, but the students and staff and families of Quincy Elementary have been the biggest gift. And I just finished up my 5th year as principal of Quincy.
And that's what I love, being an elementary principal at the same school for 5 years as well, and getting to invest in that school, but still also pursue some of my own dreams of writing or speaking. It's such a cool experience. And what I love what you just brought up too is that it's not mutually exclusive. Like, it's not, I can only be a principal and nothing else all day long. It's like, no, you can do what you love, like being a principal, and still pursue some of those outside things as well. How do you personally stay balanced?
I don't, right? Who does?
When people ask me, I say the same thing. I'm not really good at that.
I know, you should ask my family, because they'll be like, she doesn't. She's crazy. But I think like you and like many people, I'm always thinking and always doing. And So sometimes, I give up binge watching Netflix in order to work on a blog post or write a book, or I'm up early in the morning so that I can get some stuff done before my family gets up. Tonight, I had an appointment at 5 o'clock about some writing. And then I went out with my family to the beach, and I'm like, we have to leave and get home so that I can do this Facebook Live with Todd. So, and then I had a panic moment because we were getting some frozen yogurt. And I'm like, wait a minute, is it what PST right now? And do you ever have like those moments?
Yeah. Yes.
There is, and I have a son who just graduated from high school. So we threw his open house the day after school got out, which was, like a month after a book came out, which, there's so much going on. And really, I'm sure like you, what I have to do is stay in the moment. Yeah. Make sure that like you, Todd, and the audience is like the most important thing to me right now, even though, my son's running around and playing in the water outside or, whatever is going on. That's just, I think, a key to giving our best to every situation we encounter.
And I think that's what I often tell people too, is like when I'm wherever I am, I'm right there in that moment. So when I'm at the school with my students, I am there with them 100%, no distractions. When I am at home, I'm at home with family. And when I go and set aside time to go and write or do a call or something, that time is focused. And that for me is my form of balance, is I just make sure that I maintain that presence in that moment.
I'm right there with you. Yes. And then of course, like taking care of ourselves and getting exercise and sleep and eating right and hydrated, like those things are so important so that we can be our best selves for everyone we're with.
Yeah. So talk to me about the new book. So obviously, you have one book out, you do a children's book, you're getting all this feedback. Was it more terrifying to write that second book than the first one?
I mean, maybe a little bit, because last summer, as I was working through the manuscript, I got kind of into my own head, and I needed to have like a Google Hangout with Shelley Burgess to like get out of my head. And she's like, Allyson, we signed on for you to write this book. Don't like take it in this direction.
Yeah.
Thank you. I so needed that. Because I think, so the path to serendipity is like, this is my kind of journey and what brought me to, that point in my career and in my personal life. There's even like a chapter about my marriage, is a little nerve-wracking, and a chapter about losing my mom. So that's like, this book is like me. This book, Through the Lens of Serendipity, is kind of like my journey maybe since then. And this is about the journey to become a trauma-informed educator. And really understanding that all of the supports that are beneficial for people who have experienced trauma really benefit everybody.
Right.
And everybody deserves to be handled with care and deserves grace. Yet it's really, really hard to do that. But understanding that all behavior is purposeful, and understanding like, how do we control our thinking and feeling, and how do we see like the story behind someone's smile. Grace to everyone we encounter. That's this book. So this is like a look at the world outside, and the path to serendipity is kind of more like a look within. So it's been a great journey.
I love how much heart is in your stuff, though. And you brought up something really cool. And what I love about you, and I try to emulate that as well, is sharing a lot of you personally, not making it this cutoff world where I'm only going to share professional stuff, but willing to jump in there and share losing your mom, to share stuff with your marriage, to share that kind of stuff. Now, I know from personal experience, for me, that was probably the scariest part of putting that in any of my books, because I thought, this will forever be there. Like, I can't take this back. I can't say, erase it off the board. You aren't going to be able to see this anymore. Like, it's there, and people will know that piece of my story forever. How did you get to that place where you also felt comfortable sharing that part of you?
When I was writing the path to serendipity, I didn't know what was going to happen with the book, because it is such a personal book. In fact, I was like getting some advice from George Couros when I was reading the book, and he's like, you're like, what are you trying to do here, Allyson? I'm like, I love you because you always like tell me exactly what you think, George. So I plowed forward because I thought, you know what, if the only people who read the book are my two sons, who are, 12 and 17, that's enough. Like I can bind it in a book and give it to them as a piece of their legacy, because it really is like, it's my heart and soul. So that, I think that was, if I was okay with my boys reading it, I'm okay with the world reading it. But I was nervous when I gave it to my brother and my sister and my dad, because in my friends from high school, because there's even like a bullying story from high school. And I remember it one way, but then I'm like, oh my gosh, what if I facts wrong? And they're like, Allyson, this never happened. Like, what are you talking about? So I was so grateful when each one of them read it and they're like, oh yeah, like it's too easy, Allyson. And I'm like, whew. Okay, now maybe we're good with sharing it out with the world. But it is so nerve-wracking. But on the other hand, it's also ultimate accountability. Like I say, I believe in looking for happy accidents in life, and allow myself to treat other people badly. Like it's ultimate accountability in so many ways that I have to walk the walk, because talk is out there everywhere.
Well, and one of the coolest things I found about sharing those personal stories is that when you meet people in real life who've read the book, they have a totally different connection with you. And I know that when I speak about my mom, and as I've written about her in several of the books and then told her story in Sparks in the Dark, that after a presentation stuff, people will come up and like tell me a piece of their story, or give a big hug, or be like, this connected and this helped with that. And I'm like, okay, this is like my therapy too, to get out there and tell that part of my story. What has been a really cool moment for you that you've experienced by putting yourself out there like that?
Oh my gosh, like there's so many. I'm so excited to do some traveling this summer to make more. But recently I went and did a book talk and signing in my community for a charity. And a woman came up, there's like a line of people, which was so cool in the first place. To my
Yeah.
That was super awesome. And this woman came up and she's like, I want you to be able to talk to all of these people, but I have a story, like a serendipitous story that I really want to share with you. I feel compelled to share with you. And she waited until the last person left. And then I turned to her, I'm like, I'm so sorry you had to wait so long. And she's like, oh, it's no, and literally was like an hour that she stood there waiting for me. And then she told me this incredible story about, she was getting divorced, and a serendipitous moment that she experienced that led her to know that everything was going to end up okay. And it was going to be rough, but everything was going to, it was like a wrong number phone call. It was an incredible story. And she's like, I've never shared this with anybody. And she compelled to share it with me. And we know that when we're able to share those things that we hold near and dear and close to our heart, that it helps kind of like normalize it and feel better about us and about our lives. And so to be able to have a connection like that with even like a stranger has been amazing.
And I think you're totally right. And it's one of those things of the more that we talk about it, like what you said, the more we normalize it and let people see that what they're going through isn't unique to them, that there are other people who have been there, other people who have experienced, and other people who are willing and want to walk alongside of you through those different events in your life. What do you feel is probably the one event in your life that really helped shape who you are today?
Oh, wow. Oh my gosh. That is such a good question. I mean, I do think that, it was only 6 years ago or 7 years ago now that I lost my mom. So I was already grown up. But I think that there's many challenges in my life that I've gone through where I needed to step back and say, like, who are you, Allyson?
Right.
Who do you want to be? And nobody can take that away from you. No, suffering or loss can, like, even like Todd, seriously, sometimes I say to myself, like, if you were in jail, like the worst thing you can imagine is you did something horrible, or if it got falsely accused and ended up in jail, you can still be the person you want to be, no matter where you are, even in like the scariest situations. And that, losing my mom or, going through some personal challenges has really helped shape me into figuring out who I want to be and then making sure that I stay true to that regardless of the situation.
I love that. Well, the idea of the serendipitous moments and these experiences in life, I'm sure, though, even throughout this focus of yours and this positive attitude you put out there, that there's got to be days that you struggle or days that you sit there and are like me and think, why did I even write a book? Like, what do I have? I don't even, why did somebody publish my mess and put it out there? Because I am a hot mess. Like, I shouldn't have anything out there. I need to delete my Twitter account today because I just feel like a fraud today. Do you
Yeah.
have those moments where that doubt creeps in like that?
Oh my gosh, yes. Like, and that's one thing that I would like want everybody to know is like that whole idea of that imposter syndrome, or who am I to be sharing these lessons or these stories? And I think it was either at somebody really smart said that you write the book that you need. And lessons that are in the path of serendipity and through the lens of serendipity, like literally they are in a file in my brain, and I go through them all the time as I face challenges. And I have like these inner demons that I work through, fill me with self-doubt. And that is still the case, even though, I spent 16 years as an elementary principal or a principal, and then I've published books and get to do exciting things like talk to Todd Nesloney. Sometimes, what you don't even know what you're doing. So how dare you like put that out there? And I did have a rough patch this winter where just we had some challenges at school, and I wasn't sure, like things felt like they were kind of snowballing out of control.
Still feel like they shouldn't be sharing, they just need to step away. And I find it funny that as humans, we still, even when we hear that stuff, compare ourselves to others based on what we see on social media or what's presented to us through a forced smile. And just that whole remembering that everybody's got something that brought them to where they are, and it wasn't always sunshine and roses. I think is powerful, and I appreciate that you are working to be as vulnerable as you can to share those, because I think that continues to bring people in to see that they are not alone, even when they feel like they're the only one struggling through that.
Right. Yes. And like one of the things that I write about and through the lens of serendipity is that it is just important to celebrate the good times with people in an empathetic kind of way, as it is to empathize with people when they go through, any kind of tragedy or suffering. And like I think those things, like because when you were talking, I was thinking about a mission that I have, which is to celebrate others' successes as if they were my own. And when you try to embrace that kind of attitude toward other successes, that really helps with the self-doubt, because Todd's publishing another book. Why can't I be like Todd? Instead, I'm like, whoa, Todd, like way to go. That's amazing. And really try to believe that in my heart, because we do fall into that comparison trap, especially with the prevalence of social media and how we can make our lives look on Instagram and Facebook as compared to the difficulties we know that everybody faces.
Yeah, it's so funny because there's several educators that I mentor virtually through social media, and I hear that often when I talk to them is that, well, I don't have a book. Well, I'm not that good enough to do this. Well, and I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like, things just fell the way they did. I am not any better than you because I have this or that, or because I've been recognized. Somebody was just in the right spot at the right time. But I'm telling you, the work you're doing is just as amazing. And it's so hard for sometimes people to disconnect. But I love what you said there, And that was that whole idea of finding that moment to celebrate others' victories. And I think education, we don't do that enough. We view it too much as comparison or competition and don't spend enough time saying, you know what, I don't care if you have 7 books and this is your 8th book out. That is so exciting. And looking at it that way, I think you're right, can really change your perspective.
Yeah, and I mean, it benefits me just as much as it benefits, I mean, more than it benefits anybody else who I'm saying congratulations to.
Yeah, and it just, I mean, there's actual research out there too. Then I've talked with my staff about how when you show gratitude to somebody else, it increases your mood more than it does the person you're showing gratitude to or for. And so I think like what you're saying totally aligns with that. I mean, you're filling your own mood meter more than you are the person you're trying to celebrate.
Right. Yes, absolutely.
Well, Allyson, one question that I always love to end my conversations on is if there is one thing that you wish more people knew or understood, what would your one thing be?
I think it mirrors, Todd, what you just said, in that everybody's story is important. Everyone has gifts and skills and little hacks or ideas to share with each other that are of value. And I think being connected and knowing that we're not alone is so important and has made such a difference in my life, both personally and professionally. And then that whole idea of like, get on Twitter and, kind of Twitter stalk or look around a little bit, but then start sharing a little bit, because as soon as we begin to share, then I think we feel like more connected and that belong, and everyone has something valuable to share.
I love that. Well, Allyson, I really admire you so much in your work, and I love your books. And I encourage everybody listening or watching, go out, look up Allyson Apsey on Amazon or Barnes & Noble. Get all of her books. They're all fantastic. I've got them all on my shelf. But you do incredible work. And I know we haven't got to meet in person face to face yet, but I am very much looking forward to the day that we do, just because you are an inspiration to me and I don't get to tell you that enough. So thank you for what you do.
Oh my gosh, thank you for what you do. And I just absolutely love this platform of tell your story, and that you're able to elevate educators' stories so that we can continue to inspire each other. And I can't wait to meet face to face too.
Thank you. And thank you everybody else for listening or watching to another episode. Remember, you can check out past episodes on YouTube, SoundCloud, or iTunes. Check out next week as I bring you another great guest. And I hope you get out there and tell your story, because like I tell you every week, every story matters. Have a great night, everyone.